think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together.
Oh yeah, flying back in with the space feng shui. We're getting our chi in line today, Abe. You and I.
My chi is so fucking erect right now.
It makes a great line too, like a nice straight line, the way I wanted it to. Yeah,
the flow is fantastic.
Yeah, it's marvelous. It's marvelous. You and I are two of the four chi energies that need to align to do another episode of this show. See ya, Space Podboys. I'm Adam Ganser. With me is my co-pilot Abe Epperson, and we got ourselves an episode this time.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we really do. It's going to be pretty epic.
How do you feel? We're walking into the last 6 sessions of Cowboy Bebop.
I've been thinking about that because I don't really want it to end. But I also, spoiler for Adam's opinion, I don't love every episode in season 2 as much as I like them in season 1. Like I'm a little more connected to season 1 in terms of quality. And you and I had a pretty interesting talk about that off mic, which I'm sure will come up in maybe this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the next one. So I'm looking forward to the 4-episode finale that's coming, right? Like where we really get into all the wrapping up for everybody. And I'm sad about that. But I'm also eager to get to those episodes. You know?
Yeah, there's some good ones coming. So just so if anyone isn't looking at a paper that displays the discography, the episode list of Cowboy Bebop, we are on episode 21. This is the last 4 before the 2-part finale.
Yeah.
As we're mentioning off mic, we get Boogie-Woogie Feng Shui, which is a Jet episode. And then we get, next episode will be Cowboy Funk, which is a Spike episode, Brain Scratch, which is a Faye episode, and Hard Luck Woman, which is an Ed episode, before we get the Real Folk Blues Part 1 and 2. And we were discussing how it's kind of like the next 4 episodes, including this one, are essentially wrap-ups on, all right, we got the intro to each of these characters in the first 6-7 episodes, and then we got the meat of Cowboy Bebop. And this is kind of the final thoughts of, this is where they're at the end of Bebop.
This is where we're leaving them. Yeah.
Even though, because the Real Folk Blues, both of obviously it talks about all the people, but it's like mainly Spike episodes where it's like the plot forward momentum obviously dominates the thing, but these are like these isolated kind of character study episodes, and they're fascinating. They
are interesting, and it's sort of showing us exactly what will get these characters off the ship, because that's where this is going to end, is sort of everybody going their own way for one reason or the other. And I think in some ways both this episode and the next one are laying out why those characters need to go off on their own and what they go off for.
What's next?
Yes, I think so.
Yep.
I think that's right.
It makes sense that this episode, being a Jet one, it's a case. It's a caper. He's always a cap. He's Jet Black, the Black Dog. It's like...
It's a case.
It's a case, but it's like I think that important for the next 4 episodes of this podcast and this show. The structure matters. I'll talk about that maybe more next episode because I think it's more apparent. But this one, it's apparent because it's just like, all right, what do you do with a Jet Black episode? Well, he's film noir through and through. So you make it a case study. You make it.
It's got to be a case. It's got to be a detective story.
He's got to be a PI. He's got to get a mystery to solve.
Yeah,
and
he's always unraveling a mystery. That's right.
And that's what this is. And without, I guess, further ado, we should walk into our first synopsis section.
Ooh, what planet is this? God, I love God, I love that guitar. You know what I mean? Just clattering guitar.
Oh my god,
it's so good.
Yeah, it's so rocky.
Yeah.
It's rocking.
I played Surfer Rosa for my wife for the first. She'd never heard it before. And I got to tell you, there's something about being 40 and liking the Pixies. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's something about it.
Check this shit out. I got a new one for you.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
We should play together, man.
We should. I got to get back to that. That's on the list for sure. Anyway, here we go. Boogie-Woogie Feng Shui.
Boogie-Woogie Feng Shui.
I'm going to quarterback this one, if that's okay. It starts with, as many of these episodes do, with a mysterious message that Jet gets from a friend of his named Pow, who we don't know exactly how they know each other, but, you know, Jet's got so many contacts from the old days as a cop, we assume there's some kind of story there. And Jet's kind of just trolling around on Mars. I thought it was interesting that they were on Mars for this episode, actually. You know, because Mars is basically where all the crime syndicate stuff in this series lives. It lives there for this, too. But that's a kind of a background fact that when you've watched the series a few times, you realize. And they're kind of just tooling around on Mars. Jet gets this message from Pow, who tells him, you know, essentially like a sneaky riddle. The riddle says, "Seek the holy beast of Anzan. I am where the four gods meet." Right? And Jet, never the skeptic, is like, I'll do that. That sounds good, right? Let's chase that down.
I know that I have friends that I send cryptic messages to.
Right. He's like, I gotta know what that's about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally normal.
Right. So, you know, he wants to track Pow down to be like, what's this all about? You know, so he's not immediately invested in the cryptic thing. He's more like wants to talk to his friend, only to discover his friend has died very recently. Like a couple days ago. And we basically start this episode at his grave. And he's about to get shot, it turns out, by mysterious figures in fedoras when a young woman, how old would you say she is? 20?
It seems like she's like a teenager, but
okay.
I just want to make the obvious case for the syndicate, the
Blue Dragon Syndicate. Yeah.
One of the syndicate, one of the they look like the Blues Brothers. It's an obvious reference to the Blues Brothers, down to their Crown Vic.
I love that.
And their hats, and
their
one's
goofiness
clearly
too.
Dan Aykroyd, one's clearly Jim Belushi.
Thank you for pointing that out, because it's very silly, but also subtle. Anyway, so Jet gets warned by this mysterious girl who it turns out is Pow's daughter. Hey, somebody's shooting at you, and they barely escape. Jet sort of having the like, what the hell is going on question, right? While they traverse various vehicles and end up jumping in the river. And she seems to be kind of having a good time, I think it's safe to say, right? Like dodging all these bullets.
Yeah, she seems to divine the each bullet. And
she knows where they're coming.
Them.
Yeah. So the only thing that the creators give us in terms of visuals for this character to show us who she is a scarf that a Romani person might wear. Right? So that's sort of a window into what this episode's actually about. Because it turns out what she wants is to explore, by way of feng shui, where her father's message leads them, right? And she has a kind of she has what do you call that device? Like a lathe of some kind? An astrolabe? What is that?
I don't really know, because I don't deal in the
mystical?
The mysticals.
You don't deal in
the
mystical arts?
But at one point, the Sunstone, I think, is supposed to be like essentially a scrying stone. Like it's a crystal ball.
So she has like again, feng shui is not my area of expertise. I don't know much about it. But she has essentially like a sort of like
plank of wood with writing on it.
Yeah, that seems to be, it moves or whatever, almost like a like a Ouija board or something when it comes into the path of feng shui that they're supposed to follow, right?
To the magnetism of, as she describes, there's the sun, the earth,
Right.
and then there's the power of the individual.
When the
And
chi
I don't know-
aligns, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what is the board is responding to, but it's
Not clear.
clearly X marks the spot for the next plot point.
Yeah, so that's what you kind of need to know. It's a disc that kind of on a board that has magical properties that helps direct them essentially. And she basically talks Jed into like, we need to find the sunstone, right? That's got to be what my father's message was about. Okay, so they're back at the ship, right? And on the ship, the other passengers, Spike, Faye, and Edward, are just so interested in the goss. They just got to know
why
what's the
is
deal.
Jet palling around with this teeny weeny?
Yeah, what's the deal? Is he into her? Is this like, is he like, is she a daughter from a past life? And they're debating
brother, sister.
Yeah, they're debating the relationship and whether and how their ages relate to that, right? And that's,
Or is he trying to fuck a kid? Like,
well, I think she's
what's
of age.
going on?
I think she's of age.
She seems of age. We don't know. It's anime. Let's be frank.
I think we're supposed to think she's of age.
I think she is. She has no guardian. She's palling around the city streets of Mars alone.
Yeah.
She seems like she's capable.
Yes, it's a theme that or I guess a subject they keep coming back to. Nobody seems quite comfortable enough to say, Jet, she could be your daughter. Jet's definitely not comfortable with that idea, but also it's not really comfortable to be like, no, she could be your girlfriend. Like that's also a little bit uncomfortable. So that's the kind of situation we're in. These two, what are they, palling around to solve this sunstone mystery? Anyway, Edward, ever our favorite character, decides to just come out and ask. and Jet is embarrassed as hell. I was thrilled because Edward has no social propriety at all. And
love it.
It's wonderful. Spike and Faye pretend like they had nothing to do with it. And
which I love that Jet looks back as soon as Ed asks, Jet looks back like, what have you two done?
Two pieces of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Faye and Spike may not have ordered this to happen, but they talked enough to make this happen because Ed would not do this.
Ed doesn't think about things like this. No.
She would never harm me.
No, Edward would just be like, can I have food? Do you have that?
Yeah.
Yes. Also, Edward serves her peeps on a dish. She's like, here, would you like these peeps? And
as like a fancy butler,
yeah,
too.
Yeah. She does some butlery, and it's pretty great.
It's like, your peeps.
Yeah. Edward, I thought, was in peak form in this episode. Just really liked Edward.
Edward is always, yeah. You ever microwave a peep?
No, what happens?
It gets enormous.
Does it? No, it doesn't. Get the hell out of here. Is this a real thing? Well, I'm not going to try it.
It's enormous. And then it eats your microwave. No, it gets enormous and I don't know, it maybe explodes. I think everything explodes in the microwave.
Okay.
I don't know how X-rays work.
I can see that.
Point is, Ed's pretty great.
Ed's pretty great. Great. So Jet's like, all right, let's get on with this. Let's get on with this case, right? Where we go find the sunstone. And that's where we get a kind of education about how feng shui works. And we get the three chis. There's a chi in heaven, as Abe mentioned, and one from the earth, and then one from a magnetism one that's essentially coming from the living people on it. And this, magnetic chi is essentially the thing drawing them toward where is the sunstone. So,
by the way, the thing that she uses is called a lupan.
Oh, thank you for finding out.
Yeah, it's a Chinese magnetic compass used in feng shui.
Oh, I assumed it was authentic.
The precise orientation of buildings, graves, and interior spaces to maximum positive energy.
That's interesting. Well, she uses it more like a magic compass for where the sunstone is.
For where we go next.
So they they do a kind of a brief little montage of them looking around, all the while being followed by the Blues Brothers, until they arrive at a rooftop and realize that these four creatures they were supposed to find, the intersection point, those are actually it's like a metaphorical rendering of how the buildings look, right? And it turns out the sunstone,
It's a riddle.
yeah, sunstone is
I
a
love
rock
that.
in the middle of that.
When you think I die, I'm gonna send you a letter
When I
that's
think
gonna
you
have
die.
riddles.
Okay, yeah, that's how it should go. You know,
Please,
Abe riddles. Please solve this.
my riddles, friend.
And it turns out it's just like, can you get rid of my
Can you-
pink slip?
yeah,
And
Can you like come here on like a certain date?
listen? Can you be the one to empty out my porn drawer? Because I don't want my
Yeah,
dad to do that.
exactly. I don't want my dad to be on my computer going like, "Oh my poor
Look what he's
son.
looking at. Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, what was he up to?" And
Love
then just crying.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's
So the what's the name of the tool again? You have this name.
Lupin.
The Lupin leads them essentially to a small statue where the sunstone is lodged in its mouth. So the sunstone looks like a lump of coal. I think it's safe to say,
Yep.
right?
Which any of my Chrono Trigger heads
Yeah,
know that's canon.
that it's a lump of coal.
Sunstone needs to be charged up by the sun, baby. So it
Oh, of
looks like
course.
a lump of coal
Yeah,
at first.
of course, that makes perfect sense. So anyhow, they find it and they bring it back to the Bebop where they perform tests on it. The tests reveal that the sunstone is, if nothing else, a piece of the moon gate that exploded. Right, and there's a little skepticism about it.
Moongate keeps paying dividends.
I want to
dude.
talk about the moon gate. Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely want to talk about the moon gate in this
the
episode.
fissure in humanity.
Agreed. So, the other two, Faye and Spike, get interested in the case at this point and lean in on the results in their smoking, and Jet kicks him out, calls it a no smoking zone all of a sudden, right? So we just get needless rules to prevent the poor young woman
Don't
from...
smoke in front of my daughter.
Right, exactly. That is exactly what it is. Don't smoke in front of my daughter. They don't say shit. They're just out there after that smoking on the deck of the Bebop, which is very
They're
funny.
both McNulty. They're like,
really
what the
are.
fuck did I do?
What did I
the
do?
fuck did...
Yeah.
As they smoking down
I did bad, bunk. Yeah, exactly.
their death sticks,
Uh,
like so many George Lucases might say.
What they need out there is a tree. A tree is really integral to the whole smoking process, as you and I know
Mhm.
quite well.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got several bonsai, but, you know,
But they need a tree, like where all
They
those
need a-
those butts go, under a tree.
under a tree.
Right, that tree grows up sick in 20 years. That's what they
It's
need.
like-
Yeah.
I'll clear the air for you guys. Don't worry about me.
So we get a little lore on the Sunstone, essentially that they absorb the time and space fluctuations, right? And this leads them, Jet's sort of like, so what's the purpose of the Sunstone? Why did your father ask us to do this? Mifa doesn't know, but it's pretty clear, like, this is ultimately for Mifa about reconnecting with her father and trying to figure out who he was and stuff. And so the journey must continue. And Ein, of course, the Dogus ex machina, is the one that takes the stone and then runs up to the compass, and the compass reacts to it, and suddenly we know we got to keep following the sunstone. It's going to guide us to wherever this mystery resolves, right?
Which is a specific point in space.
Yeah,
in the hyperdrive.
apparently in hyperspace. Yes, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
So they go to hyperspace, right? And like on their way there, there's a conversation between Mifa and Jet where she's like, it's pretty clear she hadn't seen her father in something like 10 years. So, and he never chased her down, and she kind of felt and should have felt abandoned by that, and therefore was sort of like wondering who was he really, and like asks Jet point blank, like, what do you know about him that you're not telling me?
And we get an earlier kind of conversation nod to like, oh no, like my dad never sat down and talked to me like this.
He sort of left me.
He was cold and distant,
Yeah.
and like you're more of a father in the 24 seconds that I've known you, which is not a good look for this guy. If Jet within like an hour is being called daddy by this teenager.
Yeah, really sad story here. Yeah,
You fucked up, pal.
Yeah, this isn't. Despite the reconciliation of sorts that comes at the end, it's like a pretty sad story, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's like, Meifa's like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
And I have to find this
This is the
fucking
very
guy.
worst man, but I'm compelled by biology to find him.
Yeah.
It is kind of sad. Jet reveals to her that he did know Pow from he was an informant for the Blue Syndicate, essentially, and that he was trying to use Jet when he was a detective to get out of trouble, like to find an exfil from that organization.
He was an informant, yeah.
But that's not happening because that's not how the Syndicate really works. A fact we're going to revisit in this series later for sure. So Pow was kind of a doomed figure, and probably his disappearance was about protecting them from the danger that being a part of the Blue Syndicate involves. Of course, that's a thing we've already discovered when Jet had to beat those Blues Brothers down to get facts from them, which is a thing that happened, I don't know, a couple scenes before. But
by the way, I think it's implied that Jet knocks out one of the Blues Brothers by like strangleholding him with his robotic arm.
Does he not kill that man?
It really seems like he breaks his neck, and then the little street orphans
just loved it. They're like, look at his glasses.
Oh, look at his glasses. I got new glasses, everybody. And Mars is fucked,
That
dude.
tells me Mars has corpses everywhere.
And there's just corpse orphans just running around the streets.
Yep.
Expecting bodies to drop because they do.
Little vultures just out there harvesting like it's a looter shooter.
Like hyenas at the watering hole.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Pretty crazy, the facts we learn. Anyhow, so yeah. Jet, after revealing that information, they jump into hyperspace. Turns out the ship is being chased by, I guess, a syndicate ship that has superior resources. So Faye and Spike get launched out there to clean up some of the riffraff. And it's not going that great. Seems like maybe they might be in for some trouble when suddenly an idea occurs to Ed, I think it is, who's like, I got it. And the idea is, what if we nuked the Sunstone with Spike's giant laser, and maybe that would be the answer to what this is about.
What I love is that, like, we see a schematic of the ship, and they have to expel, like, it's literally Bebop shits out the Sunstone.
Yes.
And then Spike shoots it. They literally shoot shit. Like,
it's wonderful. Also, Spike grabs I'm shooting rocks now, which was a pretty funny line. Mm-hmm. And he nails that tiny rock from
impossibly
2 miles away. Like, what is happening here? Like, it's incredible.
And he does. We do the fucking series does not even blink.
No big deal.
It's not like it's like, oh wow, that was a good shot. There's no commentary. Faye doesn't say anything. We're just supposed to believe that's casual. Like whatever.
He is 1 billion times better at shooting than like Annie Oakley or William Tell or somebody like that.
Like that is like maybe a 16th the size of a womp rat. You know, like.
And he doesn't even have the force. How's he doing this?
Yeah.
How's he bullseye at anything?
How does he even do this? He doesn't have the force.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, it turns out that hunch by Edward, executed by Jet, was right. And it opens a side portal in hyperspace where Pow's ghost ship emerges, because somehow Pow got folded into time and space here and sent out a message hoping to draw them there, even though he's clearly not going to survive this trip. And he basically uses this moment when he's trying to reconnect with his daughter to brag that he was the one that got them there. And Jet's like, hey, man, no, fuck you, bro. Like, you wasted my time. And
on this weird errand.
Yeah, and the daughter, Mifa, kind of calls him out, for like all of his bad behavior. And he seems sad. And she's like, I hated you growing up. And then she's like, but now I don't. And right when they might have a meaningful moment, the ghost portal disappears. And,
he got his ghost rocks off. Yeah. Like, he's like, that's all I wanted.
I can disappear now.
I can disappear now. Yeah. What a dick.
Yeah.
What a dick
selfish.
That guy is.
Most ghosts are just selfish.
Putting everyone in danger so that he could get his fucking salty ghost dick off.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen a movie about a ghost where the ghost wasn't selfish.
True.
I mean, maybe it's been a while since I watched Casper, but I bet you if I thought real hard about Casper, I'd find out he was selfish too.
Yeah.
Ghosts are pretty fucking selfish, is the point.
They pretty much take up, like, if there's a ghost,
They're taking up your time. Your time belongs to them now.
And my time is valuable. Frankly, I got things to do.
No ghosts are helping me. Why am I doing all this shit for the ghosts? You know what I mean?
I love that this is already a Larry David bit.
Exactly. He's already offended. What's the transactional route? Anyway.
What do I owe these ghosts?
Yeah.
I don't owe these ghosts anything.
Yep. That's what the jokes would be if we were going to do that bit, which we're not. Anyhow, the episode wraps up pretty rapidly after the ghost ship disappears.
Right.
By Jet giving yet another of his noir monologues telling us that Mifa returned to Mars and things returned to normal. But one thing changed, which is he no longer checks for horoscopes. And the episode ends there.
Yep, he's like this feng shui master, although the episode does go out of the way to point out that the Chinese tradition of feng shui is like not divination. It's not about...
It's a science.
Scrying the nuance of the, prediction or anything like that. It's trying to organize energies in the right way so that you can make things better for yourself, which is kind of a metaphor for Cowboy Bebop. I
guess so. I do want to talk about what feng shui means for this show a bit, but not right now.
But right now what we're going to do is we're going to each take a moment to talk about execution in this episode by the directors and animators in a section we call Pushing the Sky. Mars is great.
It is great.
In this specifically this episode. I actually started when I was watching this episode, I started talking about. I wrote a whole thing about the directionality of the slow chase.
Mm-hmm.
There's a section with the Blues Brothers in like how directorially you connect motion via the cut and keep geography crystal clear. And there's a section where Jet grabs Mayfa and takes her to the bar while they're being followed by the Blues Brothers. And like interior, exterior, it doesn't really matter. You know where everyone is and where they have, like they even have a ball at one point that the camera follows so that you know like where to look. And that is fantastic. And I wanted to notate that sequence. But what I want to take this time to talk about is how Mars has never looked better. We're 21 episodes out of 26, and this is how you show me Mars has like rooftop jungles, and like
awesome.
Expansive futuristic subways,
like hanging gardens and shit. Yeah, it's great.
And there's this whole again because it's about feng shui. The flow of the sky has like these snakes, like these organized structures. Architecture is completely advanced and become like more of an art than it is, like it's a place where you can tell Mars is not just solving, like we've seen in the previous episodes, the slums, urban centers, this concept of just like piling in bodies like Blade Runner is. There's an open, expansive, maybe it's the richer part in town, though you don't really get that vibe. Like you don't get that like Mayfa's like rich or something, but granted her dad did work for the syndicate, so maybe they have a little bit of money. But the places nearby aren't like out of pocket. They're bars and, homes.
It's a livable space.
It's a livable space. It doesn't seem like it's ritzy, but you look outside and it's like, this is progress. This is advancement. It's
a nice town.
It's actually showing for the first time in Cowboy Bebop that like the solar system isn't a series of collections of like high capitalist, like a centrifuge like the syndicate is just got all the money, and then all the other people are kind of in squalor. That's kind of how Bebop portrays a lot of the outer moons, a lot of like even Mars.
Rundown towns. And,
it's like people barely getting by. There's a bar in town that everyone goes to. It's Wild West. But this is like, look at modernity and how it's great, which is anti-frontiersman atmosphere. It's anti-Western in terms of like what Westerns would typically portray is, the rise of modernity, the coming of the railroad. Fuck that. That is not America. That's modernism. That's Europeanism, or whatever the fuck we thought it was at the time. This is like nodding straight up to like, the old and new are married in a kind of beautiful way. There's temples and structures that feel like they're essentially born of our world in our modern history, or even in our past, and they're put up next to this futuristic landscape and skyline, and it all feels aesthetically cadent, right? It's fine. And I just want to throw that out to Cowboy Bebop, that in terms of its earlier portrayal of how civilization works and how human civilization works, this is a very different portrait. This is like a normal, modern, like almost like a New York City, or like kind of just the atmosphere is that this is life as usual, and it is actually progress. Like humanity is doing better, Yeah.
It tells you that we didn't just barely survive the moon gate incident, but began to thrive somewhere down the line. And it was in Mars. But also the syndicates kind of shape your opinion of Mars too, right? Like
corruption
that's what organized world looks like.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful in Mars. Like, and it's not as limited as basically every other place to like one ecosystem and sort of like some pretty oppressive rules. It's pretty vibrant, and I love that observation. I have something very short that I feel like I've done before. I noticed, and this happens a little bit in anime sometimes when they run out of money. This is the first time I can remember them doing a montage with stills. They did twice. They did a montage with her and Jet over essentially still images.
Yeah.
Which
looking for the sunstone montage. Yeah,
and you can see why, because how much of that's really interesting to look at, or action packed. You can see why there needs to be a montage there. But what's fascinating about it is, it's a different stylistic choice than they've been doing throughout the whole show. And I was trying to figure out, okay, so why is this the show where they did that, right? Because they could have easily done it when they were going to look for Faye's VCR. You know what I mean? Or like a bunch of other times. They did it here. And I think it's because this episode is the one time Jet seems to consider the life he didn't take. And like, what would it be like if I had been a father and had a family and
stayed a cop? Is a big one.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is him in a very subtle way, contemplating a much more calm and normal life than he has had or chosen since he left the police force. And maybe it's a window into what's coming after the Bebop. We don't know that because we don't get those episodes. But the fact that he so easily and quickly sort of fell into taking care of this young woman and sort of like engaging in her story, there's no money to be gained. And the mystery can't be that, vexing to him. How many outstanding messages does he have from his crime partners or whatever?
Right.
So like, I think in an interesting way, this is one of the first times the Bebop, all of them are sort of seeing like, hey, we're all going our separate ways, actually. That's already in the process.
The paint is peeling. Yeah.
Yeah. And like they're having a kind of gossipy conversation about it, but the conversation they're having is about where is this going with him? And that's interesting, right? It's this like yeah, like is he going to end up with her? And Faye has this point she makes that I think is actually kind of true. Like the more righteous men are when they were younger, the more they settle with these like young hot things when they get older. Like I think it's true about Jet, where like he's actually coming back to this kind of way of life he believed in when he was younger.
Like a quarter life crisis or a midlife crisis. I mean,
I
don't
don't
know
for him.
Like, frankly, in like anime, like I don't know what canonically Jet is. He may be
He's gotta be
14 for all I know. You know,
no.
But yeah,
he's in his
young.
40s.
No. Have you
How
seen
do you
anime?
think he is?
I think he's in his 40s, but
Yeah.
I think that the anime thinks he's in his 20s.
I don't know, the bald thing and the way his beard is.
Maybe
I mean,
30s.
it's not clear. You're right.
Point. I'm
Hey,
just making a
this is a
joke
valid
about
question.
anime, but like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about what they think his age is. That dude's almost 50.
Yeah. He's late 40s is what he
Yeah.
fucking should be.
Yeah,
He's Danny
for the
Glover
amount of
Lethal Weapon.
experience that he walks
Yeah.
around with, like, there's no way you can gather that intel
100%.
in 5 years. You know, like,
So this is why I returned back to this postcard idea. Is the postcards kind of symbolize what the day meant to him. You know, even though what we're getting is story, you're also getting these images of the two of them silhouetted against like sunset, you know, on the water, or like the two of them having a fun conversation or an interesting conversation with a street vendor, or, you know what I mean? Like this stuff that feels very, like remember that day when we went out and looked for the sunstone? You know, like it's like that kind of thing.
At one point, Jet hands Maeve a baseball glove. They're
Yeah.
like, "You want to have a catch, Dad?"
Well, they do. They eat ice cream together
Yeah,
on a bench. It's
cute. very cute.
right, and it's never really, even though they make jokes about it, there's never a moment where it's like, is there something between these two characters?
No. In fact,
That's
it's
not in play.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the postcards to me are telling us what the importance of this actually is. Like, why are we getting this episode? And I think we're getting it because of the undercurrent of what it means to Jet. Now, coincidentally, we also get a couple other postcards in the form of still shots that matter. One of them is Faye and Spike smoking on the deck of the Bebop. And it's a pretty grim, like dark image of them, like holding their ash butt, like their ash cups, you know, while they smoke. And that's a very like, they're no longer welcome inside. You know?
Yeah, their wants are not the familial, like wholesome wants. They're degenerates.
They don't belong here.
Yeah.
They don't belong in this environment. And then and this is the one that I find most fascinating because I know what's coming. Every time we see Edward studying the computer screen, it's incredible how alone she is.
Well,
When you think about the postcards of Jet with this young woman, and then we cut sometimes directly to these postcards of Ed with no one. You know, not even Ein usually. And I think that is also telling, like, we're getting subtle hints about where we're going, I would say.
Yeah, because famously in the next episode, they jettison Ed into space.
Yeah.
Just
like Hal.
Had enough of your shit, Ed.
And she's like, space. And she goes,
like, space, and then gets fired into the sun.
And nothing can kill her. We find out she's a small deity.
Yeah, she's Goku or whatever.
Completely.
Some
it seems
anime.
like we're ready to carry that weight, Abe.
That's right. That's the section you're in where we talk themes and zoom out the discussion to the session's larger contribution to the larger narrative.
I have only one thing that I think I want to talk about thematically here. I'm happy to hear you talk about whatever you want, but I only have one thing. The Moon Gate is the Big Bang of Cowboy Bebop. Like, it's the genesis for that whole universe as it is. It's where the energy is. in almost all these stories, where the crime started, where the Sunstone got its foundation. Like, so many of these things began with that incident. Even Faye's life in some way is connected to it.
Yep.
Edward's life is in some ways connected to it. Like, that's the holy event that started this universe.
I'm so
if
glad
you will.
you used that word. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why the feng shui matters, right? Is that it's sort of tracking that we're backtracking the cosmic meaning and significance of that event throughout the series.
Oh, I could talk about this for a long time, dude.
I thought you might. It's just an observation that's become more and more clear to me through this watch through. It's like, wow, that event really colors everything.
It really colors everything. And in the same way, I want to bring up, you know how we have like BCE and, you know,
and
CE or AD and BC. The cataclysmic religious event, Jesus exists. And we're like, okay, so everything before that and everything after that. We determine time around such a historically momentous human event, and that's how we actually structure time. It's almost like in its infancy, humanity rose into the stars and reached out into the blackness of the cosmos. And one of its first acts, it made a misstep so detrimental that it scorched its own home. Of course, that would be how you catalog time.
Yeah, they should have restarted their clock on that event,
of course,
for sure.
That's your new BCE. Everything is based around it. So it's like, of course, we're orbiting this like trauma, this human species trauma. There is, again, and I will not be the last time I mention this to you, there's a show called Freerin that takes place after the death of the demon lord or whatever. And everything
like Satan is dead, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a party of heroes came and took out Lucifer, and all of humanity rejoiced. And they reference in that show everything based off, like, it's called Himmel's Party, Himmel being the main hero. Himmel's like 40 years after Himmel's Party, 60 years after Himmel's Party. Everything is based around an event that collectively unionized
the cosmos.
The species. And I love when we kind of take index in our fiction to kind of say, this was such an event. We don't have to give you details about the moon explode, like
you can see
hyper. You can see
the artifacts,
and you see how culturally it has influenced everything, and that's enough. And Bebop gets it. I think fucking gets it.
It actually makes it more meaningful than if you had the episode where we talked about the moon gate.
Yeah,
like, it's not that they never talk about it. They do.
They do. You know, they say, like, back then this explosion happened. Right. We did this.
They give you enough
scientists. Yeah.
Yeah. They give you enough to know what happened, but they don't do the kind of monologue Jet's doing, explaining the case, where it's like, because of that, everything that exists now is different. Like, they don't do all that, right? Like, it's just describing a cataclysmic event. But I think the series has a way of sort of showing you, no, it's a lot bigger than you thought it was. A lot more significant than you think it is.
It forced us to move from Earth to another planet.
This whole world that these people live in is impossible without that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why do you think... I'm slightly transitioning, but I think it's related.
Yeah.
Why do you think Jet learning about feng shui happens here?
All right, so
why does that happen?
There's a conversation, like we mentioned it, about how feng shui is not about divination. It's about channeling the right energy and finding and locating energy. It's thought of as a scientific belief, using the flow. And there's this question that Meifa brings up, kind of rhetorically, in front of Jet about her father. Why did my dad send you the message and not me? And I think the answer has to be because Jet was the energy necessary to solve this particular function. I need to get my daughter in front of me on a camera so I can say what I need to say. In other words, feng shui is about aligning the universe in different configurations in order to benefit you or give you positive influences. Bebop and Jet are all about that.
Mhm.
Like, they're all about how, the shit is swirling all around us, but like, I have the righteous path. I have the flow of energy that gives me justice. That's Jet, right?
Yeah, so Feng Shui fits who he already was. It's an alignment with him.
It's actually an improvement, because if you look at him as his reputation as the Black Dog, where he's just like, I can't help but bite
gotta do
down
it. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't let go. That's actually a better definition of when you look at, we're going to talk about Spike episodes, but that's like an old version of Jet. Jet now is the bonsai carrying dad type who understands the flow of the universe is out of line sometimes, just because that's the flow of the universe. I adapt. I am like water, one could argue. And I think that he's learned that a little bit by the point of this episode.
I think you're right. I don't know that this episode is a momentous thing for Jet. I think the last line is supposed to suggest that it's sort of a crystallization for him of, no, I'm not going to read fortunes anymore. Like, now I believe in the way, right? Like this way of Feng Shui, right? Like, and I'm using religious language only because it aligns with what his experience of it is. And as you said, this kind of righteous path idea, I think those are good ways of thinking about what this is. But it's not a conversion story for Jet. It's a crystallization of a very long conversion that he's been going under the whole time on Bebop. And that's why this episode had to happen after he like revisits that killer that, cost him his job on the force, right?
Black Dog Serenade. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is actually, even though it's kind of a gentle story in a lot of ways, like, it's actually the moment where all the pieces snap into place for Jet, and he's probably able to move on from this interim space he's been in.
Yeah, he knows that. I mean, it's always got to be a case. There's a mystery because Jet's a little fucking puzzle boy, a little pervert.
It comes in the form that he can accept it.
But it's now presenting itself in a way that he can internalize, which I think is like, we have that phrase, can't teach old dogs new tricks kind of thing.
Right.
This is the antithesis to that. It's like, here old dog, here new trick. Here learning, like, that's the subtle ebbing and erosion of story that comes out of Bebop. It's a steady,
I agree,
berating of the water torture that is the ocean upon these individuals. Not in a bad way, but that's how time works.
That's what you want out of a television show, period. There's a reason why TV shows are sort of better character studies than movies are.
Yeah.
Because TV allows you to explore somebody with a much deeper emotional wound, character flaw, and then show how over a series of events, slowly a person grows to a point where they become a different person.
Yeah.
They overcome this thing. And it's not through the one day they had the one choice, and that one choice also saved the universe the way it happens in a movie. It's through the slow casework, some of it's just big and some of it's not big, that finally the day comes where it's like, I just don't need the horoscopes anymore.
Yeah. Also, like, all this scrying, all this, finding via Ouija board. The dude is just he's locked in, but he's like in a fixed point in space. There is a material essence, a coordinates for where he is.
Yeah.
that is so haunting to the daughter because she's like, you've never been there in my life, and
But you are somewhere.
But you are
Yeah.
somewhere. You're not a ghost. You're not dead. Like
Yeah, we're making
you made
jokes
me
about
seem. Yeah, like
he
that's
isn't a ghost, to be clear, in the episode, the dad.
Yeah.
But like he's functionally a ghost. Is the point?
He's functionally ghost and kind of like that fucks her up because she's like, it feels like there's no reason for that. And it's
Yeah.
because you were devoted to this like thing about focusing your energy in the right way. And yeah, you're good at puzzles, but I just wanted a wholesome conversation, which I got from 5 minutes with this fucking guy. And you couldn't give it to me after a lifetime.
And see,
I
that's
hated
an interesting counterpoint to the meaning of feng shui. Like, so Pao is a master of feng shui, like one of the few,
Known
right?
as like, top,
And
whatever that means.
It didn't make him a good man or a good father.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think Jet exploring feng shui is actually revealing how the goodness in him has metastasized into, in some ways, sort of selfishness, but then also in some ways being better at caring for people, but also letting them go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when the first Jet story episode in this series is about a woman he couldn't let go of. Right? Like he kept tracking her down. This is where we find out that he's the black dog or whatever. And here we are with another woman who he keeps a pretty light hand on. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't try to control this woman's story or destiny, and he doesn't try to hold on to her after she's done with him.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that's pretty significant change for Jet.
When Faye and Spike deploy in hyperspace, where they're like, "Oh, here we go again," and Faye's like, "I don't.
Why am I doing
this?"
Yeah.
Spike says, "Think of this like a fable." To Faye, we're gonna grant the princess her wish.
Yeah,
and I thought about that line because it's fitting in that like in Cowboy Bebop, why are they heroes? We very often say they're anti-heroes. Yeah, easy. But why are they heroic at all? They help those who can't help themselves. That's a Bebop promise, right? But it solidifies that Jet is the knight because he's speaking about things in archetypes, which is going to become increasingly more relevant. If you haven't been watching, you should know the archetypal reflection in this series is top tier. His quest, Jet's quest, is on par with helping save the princess. It's a grail quest, a moment of archetypal reflection and like almost meta-ness, where Spike is like saying like we are the Knights of Camelot, or whatever. And if you look back at the structure of the episode and the plot maneuvers, even Ed helps. Ein finds out the Sunstone. Everyone's helping together. Jet's at the helm. It's like that. It makes total sense that this is perhaps an episode where we are seeing Bebop at its highest.
They're in lockstep this time. Yeah, they're working at their best.
This is the maximum potential. And guess what it gives us?
A hole in space-time.
A hole in space-time, but a daughter that just says, all I want to say to my father is that I'm no longer angry at him because I've moved on.
Yep. Yeah.
That's motes in a suspended in a sunbeam.
Yeah.
That is Cowboy Bebop, just, polar bodies orbiting each other.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
it too.
That weird thought.
They make a mountain out of a molehill often in these episodes.
Some would say.
Yeah. Well, it's time for us to disappear back on our ghost ship, Abe.
Yeah. I'm going to creep back into my hole where the next time you'll see me, I've watched the next episode, and it's
good.
the only thing that I've seen.
Don't check my computer. Don't check it.
Everyone assume when you turn off this episode that I will literally power down.
Yeah.
And
it's
not
funny to
speak
watch.
to anyone or anything or do anything until the next time you've heard my voice.
It's really funny to watch how he dangles his neck and arms. They're very limp.
Yeah,
Really like
it's I am constantly sore
Yeah.
because I'm not a real boy.
That's right. All right.
I'm like 3 Pinocchios in a trench coat. That's what I like to think of
I'd
myself
like to talk
as.
to the middle Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he tells the most lies. It's an erection joke for everyone. Bye.